What happens when you tried everything? Doctors, treatment, endless prayers, and you're still met with silence. We sit down with a woman whose journey through infertility led her to a moment of miraculous healing. Her story isn't just about the desire to have a child. It's about faith, surrender, and a God who still performs miracles. You don't want to miss this powerful testimony.
Guys, welcome to another episode of Heart of the Matter. I am your host, Marcus.
I'm Scott.
And we are so happy that you're here with us. Please comment, like, share, press that subscribe button if you haven't done that already. We would love to have you to be one of our subscribers as well. Today, we got a good treat for you.
Today, we have Janie with us. Janie works in the labor and delivery department. And today she's going to share with us some of her struggles and the way that she got through infertility, healings that you've had in your life. So we're really interested to hear what you got to say to us today, Janie. We appreciate you being here with us, man. It's going to be an excellent time. So take us through some of your journey.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Good way to get my testimonies out there. I believe that what I've gone through in my life, that somebody out there needs to hear it.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
So I guess I'll start with my infertility journey. Growing up, all I wanted to be was a mom. I did not want to have a career. I just wanted to have a big family and take care of the home and raise children. So I didn't really focus on too much of what I wanted to do after high school. So when that time came, again, I kind of threw around the ideas of going into the medical field, but that's just not where my heart was at the time. So I got married to my wonderful husband. He's so patient with me through all of this. But we started trying to start our family soon after we got married. And I do have something called PCOS, which there's an issue with my ovaries. And so it makes it very, very difficult to become pregnant, especially without help from doctors. So we were younger, so we were like, let's just start early because I knew I probably was already going to have an issue with it. So sorry, I'm going to get very emotional through this.
Okay.
It was very difficult through the entire time that we were trying. Did have pregnancy loss. We had 2 failed adoptions. We had failed treatments and just all that, the emotions, the anger, everything that comes with the whole journey. So starting with that, part of me did feel like what I did in my teen years, early 20s, that it was my fault. I know I had a medical diagnosis of why it was so difficult, but it also was, well, the things you did, God's not allowing you to have your family.
So at times you had thoughts of, was God to blame for this?
Absolutely.
And at what point, how did you reconcile that? How did you reconcile that it wasn't me and that God's not punishing me for things that I did?
Probably close to the time that we finally got pregnant. So, and like you said, yes, I don't necessarily that it was God's fault, but that it was my fault.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
That's what I heard. And so how far into before you actually got pregnant?
So it took us 12 years.
Yeah, that's significant.
Yes. So through that, seeing, every Mother's Day was very difficult for me. And I know it wasn't just about me. Like I wanted to celebrate the mothers in my life, but it was a very difficult holiday every time it came because I felt like, why can't I be celebrating this year?
And I know I've known you for a while, and from what I understand, you were raised in church.
Yes.
You were always there. And Mother's Day is a very big thing at the church.
Yes.
And it's always a big celebration. So every year it was somewhat thrown in your face
Yes.
of saying it wasn't, they weren't trying to throw it in your face, but it was to you, it was like, man, I don't have this and I can't celebrate it.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't want to speed all the way up to here. I know we're already to the 12th year and we're successful. I heard that there were pregnancies that were lost, but what was probably something that we're not just going to speed over, she said adoptions also. So that had to add another type of burden on top of not being able to have children naturally, and then to be denied for whatever reason through adoption as well, because you would assume, or people would often say, well, if you can't just have kids, or why don't you just adopt? So obviously we tried that, and even that was unsuccessful.
Yes. So it was 2 separate times. It was teenage girls. One of them, we went and put money down with an attorney. Like, we went and signed papers. And then she decided to go with a large adoption company because they do have more benefits when they go that route. So she was still giving her child up for adoption. She just did not want to do the way we were.
And this was a teenage child? This is blowing my mind. I assume that adopted children, when parents are going to give them up, this happens very early.
Oh, so no, she was a teenage girl pregnant.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
See, I'm so glad that I'm asking these questions. I may not be the only slow one out there.
No, yeah, sorry. I should clarify that.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
It was a teenage girl that was in high school. She got pregnant.
Gotcha.
Yes. And so, not just, of course, the emotional toll that took on us, we financially lost money because we put money down with an attorney.
Retaining?
Yes.
Yes.
And so we tried again when an opportunity was presented to us. And then they changed their mind and decided to keep the child, which, by all means, if that is what you want to do and you can give that child a home, I say that's great. Keep the child in the family. But on the other side of it,
You're on the other side.
the family that
Yes.
is, like, we were given sonogram pictures. We knew the gender of the baby. So already just thinking about names, and we had, pictures of the baby inside. And so just that, after that, I was like, I cannot go through this again. We thought about, fostering to adopt, but again, sometimes you have those babies in your home for years and then you have to give them back. And so I was like, emotionally, I cannot go that route. So we did do some medications that I took by mouth. We did some shots. We did a procedure in the office, and all of that failed.
Which is also expensive.
It's very expensive and very emotional. And then we decided, okay, I'm getting older. The doctor's like, this IVF is the only option you're going to have at this point. I know many people that have done that, but I've always just had mixed emotions about it. One, it's very expensive, and you're not guaranteed that you're still not guaranteed that you're going to get a child at the end of it. So we got to that point where we were like, okay, this is it. This is the route we're going to have to go. So I actually went on a fertility lifestyle change, I guess you could say, to where I even started, the stuff I cleaned with was different. Like, it was more natural, tried to do just better for my body, take in things and clean with things how God intended it. So I went on that journey. We made an appointment with the fertility doctor to start our IVF journey. And through all this process, so I had an appointment in February. My dad had emergency surgery. He was in the hospital for a week or two. My mom brought him home. She had a heart attack the next day. So I was exhausted. I was like, why do I feel so bad? Like, I just physically was worn out from trying to help take care of both of them. I woke up on a Friday and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a test. Let's just see if maybe that's why I feel this way. And it was positive. And so I called and canceled my Tuesday appointment for us to start IVF.
So you never started IVF?
I did not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So
is amazing.
he's a true miracle. When doctors said the only thing that you can do at this point is going to be IVF. And I tell you, through my whole 12-year journey, I always believed like God can do this on his own. Yes, we did things. I also believe God puts people and doctors in your life when you need them. But I still always believed, God, I believe you 100% that you can do this for me on your own. And so even after we made the IVF appointment, I was still praying, God, I still believe you can do this.
So it wasn't one of those things where you just stopped praying and got angry and said, God,
No.
you continue to keep faith through the whole time.
I mean, there were times through the 12 years that I was like, why God? Or, why are you not giving the desires of my heart? I'm not asking, I didn't feel like I was asking for anything that was not in his power to do, or that most women my age, can get pregnant and have a family. So I would be like, why are you not doing this for me? When I would see things on the news about babies being thrown in dumpsters, or this lady had a baby in the gas station toilet and left it there. Or these, drug addicted moms that their babies don't make it, or they come out addicted to all kinds of, hard drugs. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. I would take care of myself. I would take care of the baby. And so it was hard at times that I did question God a lot. Even in those times I would get angry with God. Like, why? Why would this person that doesn't even want this child bear a child? And here I am, seeking and begging and pleading that's all I want.
I think a lot of times in our life, we take it for granted. When you're not dealing with that, you just think, oh, this is natural. And you don't know the side of the story where somebody is saying, man, this is what I want.
I'm listening to you, and I appreciate you being so vulnerable and expressing what some believers would act like they are too holy to. I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't dare question God. I wouldn't, God, whatever you want to do, and whenever you're ready, I'm just your humble servant, and I'm here. And that sounds good, and I'm sure we're there sometimes.
Yeah.
But I love that you're sharing, like, hey, what about me?
Yeah.
And look at them.
Yeah.
They are abusing this privilege, obviously, that we take for granted. What about me? Were there times, I know you have a strong faith, and oftentimes there are messages that are preached where the personalities had infertility issues, and it was a long time before they had a child. How did you feel like listening? Is it like, oh, here we go with this again?
Yes, because, and that's what even some people would say to me, well, look at Sarah. She finally did. I'm like, she was in her 90s. Like, I don't want to be in my 90s.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, years old.
Like, I don't want to be in my 90s.
Right.
So yes, I mean, honestly, those stories, it did happen, and God allowed it to happen. So it definitely gave me hope. And I mean, my family has been through the whole thing. They were so supportive and so great. I mean, I've already mentioned Brent. Like, he has seen me break down and cry and just question, and he would just hold me and let me cry. My mom, and my dad, of course, my in-laws, James and Carol Ann, my sister, sister-in-law. But I remember my mom, she it was about the story about the dry bones, and she was like, just speak that. Like, say your dry wound, your ovaries aren't working right. Just pray that, God woke those dry bones up, gave them flesh, they gave them breath. He can do the same thing to your womb. And so I did. I would pray that. And so just definitely my faith was what got me through, but also my support system. They also, are believers, but just being there for me and letting me feel and be how I wanted to be and not like, because I would tell my mom, I'm mad at God. Why? And she wouldn't preach at me. She would just be like, I get it.
I get
Yeah.
it.
And
Yeah.
I have the same questions,
Yeah.
and so it was great to have even my family of Christian believers at my side and support me and not talk bad about me or look down on me because I was questioning.
So, in your relationship with your husband, Brent, did it ever cause any contention, or was there ever a blame game? Well, this is your fault. This is my, or was he always really supportive?
He was always really supportive. Now, I blamed myself because I knew it was my issue. So, like, I carried a lot of that blame. But and I'm sure I'm not the easiest person to live with anyways, but especially going through all of that, yeah, he deserves a lot. But
I would never think that.
I just can we give her a round of applause? I'm just for the accountability of saying I'm not easy to. I don't know that there's a lot of women who are willing to do that.
But that could cause a lot of tension in a marriage.
Yeah.
I wanted to go from the other side of it. You were saying, was he like contentious and blaming her? Was there ever a moment where you saw the weight that it was on him, heartbreak that he also had? Because I'm sure with you, he wanted to have a family, and with every unsuccessful turn, sometimes we have to shoulder the weight, and we can't always show our emotion and or even know how to express it. So were there moments where you were really down, but you could see he was really down as well?
Oh, yes. He did shoulder a lot of it, even though, like, I didn't blame him. I blamed myself, but because he knew how much I wanted this and this was the desire of my heart. Yes, he wanted kids too, but I think he wanted it more for me.
He wanted to see you
and
happy.
He wanted to see that fulfilled for me. Because there was a time that, we were like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. And, probably within the last 6 months before I got pregnant, I was like, okay, I've got to get to a point where I'm okay with this if it never happens. And being that we were married for 12 years before having a child, we built a great foundation and a great relationship that a lot of couples don't get
the opportunity
to do.
Yes.
So you hear a lot of, when the kids are out of the house, we have this emptiness. What do we do with each other? So I feel like it gave us a great opportunity to build a great foundation. I'm not saying we're not perfect. We have problems. Everybody does.
Yes.
If they say they don't, they're lying.
They're lying.
Correct.
But I feel like in everything I've gone through, even since then, like, he has been my rock.
Shout out to Brent.
Yeah, he really is. And like I said, in some of the most recent stuff I've gone through, like, I know it's been hard on him to try to just keep me motivated and keep my spirits up. So, I mean, really, he's been my rock. And we had a good 12 years that we could build that foundation.
And I don't think people they take that for granted as well. They're ready when they get married to have kids. You didn't have that, and y'all built this, like you said, a rock between one another. Y'all knew each other, and y'all strengthened one another for so many years. That I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I love that part of the success story. So is this the lead into being a labor and delivery nurse?
So,
or how did we come about that?
Yes. So actually my mom is a nurse as well, and she worked in labor and delivery for over 20 years. And so seeing that growing up, I was like, I want to do this. But honestly, before I had kids, I emotionally would not been able to do it just because seeing all these other pregnant women and I know that sounds terrible. I am happy for other people, but it was hard for me when, people would be like, "Oh, we're pregnant again." And it's like,
Again.
I'm so happy for you. Or it's like, "Oh, we tried for so long. We finally got pregnant after 6 months." And I'm like,
I
okay.
mean, 12
Yay.
years.
Yes. So
Yay.
it's
Yay
like,
for you.
and I don't want to compare my journey to anybody's because everybody's journey is different.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what variables are thrown into there. So I don't want to minimize their journey.
Yes.
I'm just saying for me personally, it was very difficult to hear pregnancy announcements or things like that. But so once I was finally to have a child of my own, I was happy where I was, but then actually when COVID hit, I was like, I want to change. I want to go back to the hospital setting. Don't ask me why, but it was a really good move. So that's when in 2020 is when I got into labor and delivery. I do feel that with the things that I've gone through, that I can be that support person because labor and delivery is not always the happy outcome that a lot of people think. We just sit and hold babies all day. But it's not. I mean, sometimes we have, babies that what we say go down, meaning they're in distress during labor and we have to act quickly. So just being, there for that mom and their family. Sometimes, babies don't make it in utero or after delivery. And so being there for the happy moments, but also being there emotionally and just, letting them cry on your shoulder.
Would you say that what you went through helped you to be able to show up better or differently for your patients?
I think so. I don't know that I would say better than someone else, but differently, definitely.
Differently.
Yes.
I mean, I can only imagine the emotions that go through when something like that happens. The mom's already dealing with the delivery,
Yes.
and then something happens with the child. How do you comfort somebody in that?
I think every situation is different, but I think just letting them be heard and seen, because I think sometimes, our floor is all women besides our doctors or anesthesia, whatever, but our nurses are all women. And so I think even some women are just, I don't know. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to comfort you. But you don't always have to have the right thing to say. You just let them talk, hug them. Maybe if they're okay, pray with them, just be there with them. Cause I think some women are like, I just felt ignored and unheard during this most tragic time in my life. And so I think just being there, being present.
But in those moments when it's not a happy moment, do you feel like it's a cop-out to say to someone like, everything happens for a reason? Like, I'm sure you heard that for years before you had your own child. So do you feel like that's a cop-out, or is that something that you would even say to someone having experienced what you had?
I would not. And for some people, it may be a cop-out. For others, it may just be they don't know how to respond. So, and I've heard, oh, everything happens for a reason. Oh, just go and relax and it'll happen. Go take a small vacation, and like that doesn't fix everything. So I think just be cautious of what you say to people that are struggling with either infant loss, pregnancy loss, infertility, because those words don't help when you say, I don't know how many times I heard like, oh, it will happen. Well, how do you know it will happen?
Right.
Or, how many times it's just like, go on a weekend getaway and just relax, take a hot bath. Do you don't think I've done that in the 12 years we've tried to get pregnant? Like,
what a good idea.
Yes. Like, oh, thank you for that. Like, I've never thought of that before. And so I think just, be there for the person. Let them grieve in their own way, in their own time. Let them do the talking. You don't have to have words, just your presence, letting them, cry on your shoulder, give them a hug. Sometimes that's all they need. They don't need your words of wisdom that it's going to be all okay. because in that moment, you don't feel like it's going to be all okay. And so that's the last thing you want to hear.
And I think this advice transcends pregnancies or infertility.
Absolutely.
I think this could work for just bad times in general. I think
Absolutely.
people think that they have to have the right thing to
Yes.
say. And sometimes it is just the ministry of presence, just to sit with someone and for them to, you can hear someone say, I'm here for you. But to have someone
Yes.
there with you, I think makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we have our own. We're working with other women who have challenges and those who don't. But that's not the only thing that's happened for you in your life. Share with us some of the other things that brings you here
Okay.
with us.
So I've had many healings in my life, some instant and some that took 12 years. So I've been on both spectrums of it. But I mean, I truly believe in this time that God is a miracle working God and he can heal you instantly. And he may not heal you instantly. I don't know why. I mean, I may never know why. But I'll share a few of my other healings that I've had throughout my life. So when I was in high school, I was we were doing a track exercise where you had to put a belt and there was like a bungee attached to another person. They would run a certain distance and then you would run a certain distance. Well, we were out on the football field and there was like a divot or a hole that we couldn't see because of the grass. Well, my foot went in and my knee twisted. And so my leg turned ice cold and blue from the knee down. And so my parents took me to the emergency room because we were like, what's going on? I mean, a little bit of discomfort and pain, but not like excruciating. So they took me there and the doctor literally said, I have no idea. You are a medical phenomenon. And so while we're waiting for testing, I literally felt heat. Like it was the weirdest thing. Like I would raise it, it would go back to normal. I would bend my knee, it would get instantly cold and ice blue. So as we were sitting in the emergency room, um, the room they had us in, I just like my parents were praying and I felt heat go from my knee all the way down to my leg and it was instantly healed.
And you didn't
Instantly
they didn't have
healed.
to do anything.
No.
There was no brace.
Nope.
There was no ace bandage wrap that we left with.
Nope.
Wow.
No. So that was one of my like instant, like, wow, this is amazing.
Did you really see it as like God healed
Oh
me?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even as a teenager, like Scott mentioned earlier, I grew up in church since I was born. And so I've always had that belief that God can do anything. And so even as a young teenager, I knew it was God. Like I knew because of how moments earlier it was reacting. Um, and then, like I said, I felt heat move down my leg. And so I was like, that's God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So another, this was after Brent and I were married. I've had headaches my whole life, and I'll get to that in a minute. But also started having numbness and tingling in my hands. I was so tired after, this was before I was a nurse, but I worked in a imaging center. I would work regular, like 8-hour job. I would go home and sleep for hours. I would get up, eat, go back to sleep. I was so tired. I couldn't hardly function. So they started doing testing and they found several lesions on my brain. And we're looking at that it was MS. So
That's not a light diagnosis
No.
for anyone.
So I had to go through a spinal tap, which I would not recommend that for anybody. More testing. Then they started to see spots on my spine. So for MS, it has to be spots in 2 separate areas. So then
Okay.
they were like, okay, now there's 2.
Okay.
So lots of doctors driving all the way to Dallas, just dealing with all the symptoms that was coming with it. I can't remember exactly for how long, but it was at least a year and a half. And God healed me. It wasn't one of those like, oh, in the instant, but God did heal me. I was no longer having the symptoms, the numbness, the fatigue, all of that stuff. So I truly believe that God healed me from MS.
Did you have to go through any, like from the diagnosis, was there medicine that you had to take, therapy that you had to go through?
Yeah. So medication, yes. Therapy, no. It was just, I just slept a lot. I was just so tired. And when you're working a full-time job and you're that tired and you're having all the symptoms, like I was typing. So like when the numbness and pain in my hands, it was like, it was debilitating for the job that I was doing. But God did bring me out of that.
Did you ever have people that told you, it's in your head?
Oh yeah.
There ain't nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Just, keep going.
Yeah.
Because I see that a lot as well, where there's something going on with somebody and somebody say, yeah, I think you're a hypochondriac.
Yes. Yes.
You're imagining
And a lot of
things.
people that know me probably don't even know about some of the stuff I'm sharing today because I was afraid of that. I didn't want people to be like, oh, she's got something else wrong with her.
What's next?
What is next? So yeah, a lot of it, we just kept within the family. So
After the healing, did you go back to be retested? And
so I did have, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but my spinal surgery, there's no lesions on my spine.
there you go.
There are lesions on my brain, but they're not changing.
Okay.
So now they're saying that it could be from the chronic headaches and the migraines that I have.
What were your feelings when you got that diagnosis? Was it despair?
I mean, I think that when you get a diagnosis of any amount, our human nature is despair. Because you do think, like, I know what the long-term effects of that disease is. And so it's like, oh my God, haven't even had a child yet. What's this going to do to, finances, to my husband? Someday I may be in a wheelchair. Unfortunately, I think a lot of our brains just automatically go to that when you hear, oh, you may have MS, or cancer or whatever it may be, you just automatically
go to the worst.
think of the worst.
How do you go to the positive?
I think everybody's process is different. So for me, I've really laid heavily on my faith. And a friend of mine recently that went through something similar with her neck, shared with me that she has like a daily prayer thing, like a calendar, and it said, ask God for healing once, and then every day after that, thank Him for that healing. And so I was like, wow, like again, I've been in church my whole life, but just to hear it in a different manner. And so even in the pain, even in the despair, even in the sadness, it's hard to think that way. It really is. And I want to be completely honest today because as Marcus kind of touched on it earlier, I think sometimes as Christians, we hide a lot because we feel like, oh, we should be so righteous. And because we are Christians, like we got to put on this face that, everything is okay in our world, when in reality, it's not.
It feels like it's really falling apart.
Yes. And so I'll share my most recent testimony. I was in pain for 3.5 years from pinched nerves in my neck. Don't know how it happened. I do have a very physical job. I have a boy, so he's very rough and but it just all of the sudden out of the blue, just I started having pain in my arm right here. It was just like a dull ache, like a toothache, but in your arm. And then it just progressively got worse, went up my neck, and then it went down my arm. And we did some testing, showed that I had a pinched nerves. I went through steroid injections in my neck where they go through like an epidural. so many medications just to try to get the pain under control where I could function. None of the medications were helping. Physical therapy, I did so many rounds of that, was not helping. Did blocks, actually did some burning of my nerves, which I felt every single thing while they were doing it.
Wow.
Didn't help. So then we did surgery on one level, didn't help. So I had to go through the whole process again. More physical therapy, more injections, and none of that was helping. It actually was making it worse. So in December of last year, I had my second surgery and they fixed another level while I was still in pain. And so I was like, why is this not helping? My doctor just like, well, maybe the nerves were just so badly damaged. It's going to take time for them to heal. So I was getting in a very, very low place. I do remember I was probably 6 or 7 weeks post surgery, and I was like, I just need to start moving. So I wasn't sleeping. And when you're hurting and
And
your
you
lack of sleep, it's tough. Like you can't properly heal, but you're also not a very fun person to
I was
be
going to say
around.
irritable.
You're
Yes.
very irritable. I mean, I was not sleeping at all. Like I would try the
Wow.
couch. I would just be up walking all night. Like it was miserable. So I was like, I'm just going to start walking. So I started walking and then I started running, which I'm not a runner. Like I'm
Me-
always like, I hate running. I don't
I'm
do
with
it.
you.
But that was the only time I was not in pain,
Wow.
which is you would
While
think
you were
opposite.
running?
Yes. And so there would be times where I'm like, I need to stop, but I don't want to because I'm going to be in pain. And so I would just run. Probably not the best for, and you would think with all the shock and joint movement, but I was literally not in pain. So, of course, the doctors are trying to give me more medication. It's not helping. I'm like, I just need to sleep. So I literally was in the corner of my closet and I was breaking down. And I was like, I cannot live another day with this pain. And I mean, again, through this whole process, I believed God can heal me. God can heal me. And I don't know, I don't know why it took the time it did, but maybe I needed to get in a desperation for him. But like the song you sang a couple weeks ago about the hard fought hallelujah, I felt that way because there were days I'm like, I literally do not want to live. And I just told you my story about how much I wanted to be a mom, and it took me 12 years, and I have a beautiful 7-year-old son. But in that moment, I was like, I'm so tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of being in pain. I cannot do this another minute. And Brent just came in there and he would hug me. And, he would be like, it's going to be okay. You're going to get better. I would snap. How do you know? Like, how do you know it's going to get better? Because I'm 2 surgeries in. I should be better by now. And I'm not. So one Sunday morning, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest, like there were days I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to shower. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm in pain. I don't want to do anything. And so, some Sundays it was a fight just to get myself here. But that particular Sunday, Danya was singing a song. And and you're like, okay, if she sings this one more time, I'll go down to the altar. Because I'm the type, I don't like to be in front of a lot of people.
I'm
and
pretty
it's
sure
like,
there's a lot of people, a lot of us like that.
yes.
Yeah.
And so it was like during praise and worship, so nobody was at the altar. So I was like, but like I just kept hearing this like, step out in faith and go down there and get what you need. And so she kept singing it. And then it was like she was going to close. And I was like, oh, I missed my opportunity. And then she sang it again. And I was like, okay, I cannot let this pass by. And so I walked down to the front and I just let go and surrendered. And I went back to my seat. And I'm not going to say I instantly felt better, but I started to feel like I wasn't like instantly all the pain was gone. But I instantly started to feel better. So that was 9 weeks and 3 days after my surgery. So I started sleeping better. I started getting up and moving even more than I was. I'm trying to build strength and take care of my body and myself like God intended. Um, I mean, again, I'm not perfect. I still do things and eat things I shouldn't, but I'm trying to do better with what God gave me. Because I also feel like God's like, I'm giving you all this stuff you can do to make yourself better, but I keep putting in the bad stuff or doing the bad stuff. He can't help me if I'm going to keep doing the same bad habits. I mean, we have free will and free choices. Like, yes, he can heal me from my pain, but what's going to keep it there is getting myself stronger and better and healthier. And so that's what I have been focusing on since that time, is just building strength and doing better.
I love your testimony, and I love the fact that you are willing to say the things that probably most of us have said ourselves, or at least have thought. But like you said, we get in and amongst each other, especially within the walls of the fellowship, and everybody has on this Sunday morning face, so to speak. And I think that it's important that I often say this: what you went through was necessary for you. It was important for you. But I think that it is just as much or more important for someone else, because then
Absolutely.
you can speak to someone not from theory or theology. Now I can speak to you from an experience. No one can tell you, I don't care what they think or whatever opinion they have, you know that you were healed.
Yes.
And
Yes.
for someone else who finds themselves in a place of desperation and they're at the end of their road, they're in the corner of their
Yes.
closet, and you didn't say it, but you kind of implied it, maybe thinking about
Yeah.
removing themselves
Yes.
from this earth. And you can speak to them like, hey, I know where you are, and it can get better. You can heal. I love, again, that you were just the way that you were expressing it. I know that God is good. I know that God can heal me, but right now I ain't trying to hear that.
Exactly.
Right now I hurt.
Yes.
I ain't slept in days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad. I'm frustrated.
Yes.
And it's okay to have those feelings. And
Yeah.
I think that it's good that you express that, so someone probably watching can say, man, that's exactly where I
Yes.
am.
Yeah. And I had a friend, the same friend. She's going through very similar pains. And she said, I was like, why, God, why me? And she was like, then I was like, why not me? And she was like, what Christ suffered is nothing compared to what I'm suffering right now. And I'm like, that is so true. But we get in those moments, and I'm telling you, the pain was bad, like daily, constant, never let up for 3.5 years. And I know some people go through pain longer, go through different, but this is my journey. And it was difficult. Like, I didn't want to be involved in anything. I didn't want to have a social life. I just wanted to just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Um, but also that same Sunday that the pain in my neck and arm was getting better. Probably a couple of weeks after that, I was like, I haven't had a headache in a while. So since I was probably about 11 or 12, I've had a headache every single day of my life. It can be very mild. It can be debilitating where it turns into a migraine. But like literally, I've had a headache every single day.
That last all day, or they
Yes,
have?
that's constant.
Wow.
And so whenever I was like, wow, I hadn't really thought about it, but I haven't had a headache in a while. So God also healed my neck, but he also healed my headaches. Now, yes, I still have one occasionally. And I'm believing he can still take that from me. But to go from having one every day to not having one but once in a while is huge. And I was like, I have not felt this good ever. Like, I can't remember a time that I felt this good, which is sad to think like back on my life. But I'm like, I cannot think of a day that I was not hurting somewhere or just so tired that I, I don't know. It's
So
just,
so speak to that person. Someone
yes,
who's in this place of desperation.
yes,
They're having physical pain. They're having issues in their body. Maybe they're going through this infertility
yes,
space. And you expressed, how do you know? How do you know it'll happen? How do you know the pain will go
yeah.
away? So what would you say to someone in that space now?
It's hard. It's really hard. I think kind of a general message, because again, I think it's situational and it would be very personal to that person. But I think as a general, I would say just don't give up on God. Don't give up on your faith. Because, like I said, we got to a point where I was like, I have to be okay with this if my healing never comes. Because our true prize at the end of all of this is eternal life with Him. And your life may be miserable, it may be full of pain and despair and sadness. But even if you feel alone, you're really not. There's other people out there, but God is always there. Even if you don't have a support system like I do, God is always there. I mean, in the days that I was like, I can't pray today. Like I can't think of a positive thing. What I started doing was listening to Christian gospel music, because there's so much, like we've already talked about the hard fought hallelujah. There's desperation. Um, there's so many songs that was speaking to me in my moment. So I'm like, even if I physically was like, I just cannot read the Bible today. I cannot pray another prayer today. Just that music would uplift me. And so that became my saving grace, because it was getting in to my soul. Even on days I was like, I don't want it to get into my soul, but I knew I needed it to. So music really was very, very beneficial and healing for me.
Absolutely.
So
Soothing.
yeah. So I feel like if you're at that point where you're like, I cannot pray another prayer, I cannot read another Bible verse, maybe try music. Maybe that's what you need.
When you hear those songs that meant so much to you at that time,
Mm-hmm.
does it take you back to that place and remind you of what God did at that point for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I've noticed that's in kind of my life when I hear these songs, it's
Yeah.
kind of like a monument that was set up,
Yes.
and it reminds me, oh, you did this for me in this at this time,
Yeah.
in this time. So that's what music kind of does. It
Yeah.
sets these times for me.
And it gave me hope, because I was like, okay, He is there with me during these times. Like there's one, I think her name is Jamie McDonald. She sings a song called Desperation. I literally was there. I was so desperate, like nothing was helping. So I was like, it's got to be you, God. So like even in those moments, like even if it hadn't happened yet, it gave me hope that it would.
I believe that there are many others who can identify with, I definitely can identify with a lot of your story. And I appreciate you sharing it as vulnerable and as candid as you did. And I'm sure that there's someone watching, like I said, who's probably in a space where they haven't quite given up yet, but they're right there and they're like, man, I don't know if there's another day that I can go on with this. So I'm hoping
Yes, I hope so too.
that your
Yes.
testimony gives them hope and gives them just enough strength to hold on. And then who knows when your deliverance is there. Keep the
Absolutely.
faith.
Keep
don't
it,
don't
yeah.
lose the faith.
Janie, I just want to thank you as well, because I know that many times in my life I understand desperation and just being at the lowest point. And where I'm at today and where you are today, it does give hope to people that you can make it through the tough times, even though it may seem like it's never going to happen.
And I love not comparing yourself to what someone else is going through. I always say that feelings are subjective.
Absolutely.
You can feel how you feel. And I don't think it's fair for someone to say, oh, you're only going through fill in the blank. You know what I mean?
Well, and I want to add to that because I know in my personal life, people have talked about me behind my back. Other people that are going through things. I'm like, why? Why? There's no need for that. Unless you've been there personally through their journey, you don't know what they're going through. I mean, someone may have an infertility story that's we're similar, but still very different.
Yeah.
So I try to look at that and it's like, you never know what someone's going through. Like I hid a lot. I hid a lot from even Brent. Like I was like, I don't want him to know how bad I'm hurting today or how sad I am because I know he's going to carry some of that. So I tried to hide some of that even from him. But we have to do this thing like emotional intelligence at work, and it shows people like walking through the grocery store, and it has one. It's like just lost their father, just found out that their child got diagnosed with cancer, just lost their house, just and then you have the other side of it's where they just got promoted and got a big raise, and so it's like you never truly know what someone is going through. Just be kind. Just be kind. Don't talk negative about them. Don't be like, oh, something else is wrong with them because you don't know secretly. They could be hiding a lot of stuff and you're only seeing a small surface of it. There's another, like a meme that I see that I like, and it's about the iceberg. You only see the tip of it. You don't see all this underneath. And so it's like, you don't know what other people are carrying, what other things are going on in their life, their families, their jobs. So give grace, be kind. I think that's what I would like to end with because I know some people they're hurting maybe physically or mentally, emotionally. And then you add on the whole variable of someone just not being kind. And that can just upset someone's whole world even more. So just be kind. And I have to think of that too, because when you're out and someone's being mean, it's like, why are they so being, you don't know what they just came from. Or they didn't sleep all night because they were hurting. So just be kind.
And I would add to that, what I hear you saying is also to be considerate.
Yes.
To be considerate and to be kind.
Yes.
Because the very thing that you're putting out or the way that you are negatively speaking about someone else, if that was to boomerang and come back to
Absolutely.
you wouldn't want that.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't want that. And so to consider others more than we consider ourselves, I know is biblical.
Yes.
And so, yes, to be considerate and to be kind. What someone else is going through is just as important to them as the very thing that you are struggling with and what you're going through. You may not see it as being the same way. Oh, well, I'm going through this and they're only going through that. But what they are going through is just as important to them as what you are going through is to you. So just be considerate and to be kind.
Or you're like, I've went through that before. It was no big deal. Okay, well,
that was you.
That was you. You can handle it differently. Or
Yes.
or like I said, what else are they having to carry that you're not seeing?
Right.
So
Right. I love that.
Janie, thank you.
Thank
I do.
y'all.
I thank you so much for coming. What we'd ask, if you would you pray us out?
Absolutely. Yes.
And talk to the people and, let's give them hope.
Yeah.
Lord, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I know that there's people that are hurting out there, and I just pray that my testimony will help somebody in need. Just go to wherever they're at right now. Just comfort them, give them peace. Let them feel your arms, encompass them right now, Lord, whatever their situation may be. If it's just a friend or if they're needing healing in their body, if they're needing a relationship with you, I just pray, God, that you draw them near to you. And I just pray that you give them a peace over their situation, that they can see that you are working in the midst of whatever it is that they're going through. I just pray that you just give them comfort, that you've got control of the situation. You know exactly what you're doing on your timing. I just pray that somebody just accepts this right now, that they will see that you are in control, that you've got them in your hands and you're not going to let go of them. and that you're going to take care of them, whatever their need may be. We thank you for that. We thank you for your healing. We thank you for your peace. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. We thank you that you never give up on us, even if during our situations in life, if we try to distance ourselves from you. We thank you that you are always there for us, that you're answering our prayers, even if we can't see them in this moment. And we thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
No, guys, that's another episode of Heart of the Matter. Until next time, I'm Scott.
I'm Marcus. See you next time.